Hey friends, come along with us as we show you the sights from some of our Alaska cruises. Hi, this is Scott from Scott and Tracy Traveling. Welcome to our channel, where our motto is, travel now, it may be later than you think. Cruises to Alaska are the most convenient for us since Seattle is less than a 5-hour drive from home. Over the years, we've taken several Alaska cruises and all of them have been round trip from Seattle. A regular port on an Alaska cruise itinerary is the state capital of Juneau. On our last cruise, the ship docked at the furthest pier from town, but instead of taking the provided shuttle bus, we walked the waterfront to town instead. We've never taken the Mount Roberts tram uphill from town, and on our last visit, it was too cloudy for any decent views. The downtown area is pretty compact, and the waterfront is a big attraction. On our last visit, we walked past the downtown on the waterfront and passed several nice murals. We ended up at a park with a native canoe sculpture and another one of a humpback whale. The whale surprised us when it started to spout water. A major attraction here is the Mendenhall Glacier outside of town. We didn't visit on the last cruise, but here are comparisons from previous visits. Back downtown, we wandered the shops and visited the Red Dog Saloon. Along with interesting decor, it had a thick layer of sawdust on the floor like the olden days. We had to try their famous duck fart, equal parts of Kahlua, Bailey's, and Crown Royal. A fitting drink since we're both Oregon Duck alumni. The weather was so bad on our last cruise that we overnighted in Juneau and had our visit to Skagway canceled. Skagway is a usual port stop on an Alaska cruise and has a small historic downtown that harkens back to the gold rush days. A major attraction in Skagway is to take the train ride up the White Pass following the route of the gold seekers heading to the Yukon. While we've never taken a train ride, we have driven the route with a rental car a couple times. The last time was in fall, which was beautiful. However, it was just as interesting when we drove it during the spring thaw. A usual stop on this route is the tiny town of Carcross in the Yukon Territory. I believe Carcross is just an abbreviation for Caribou Crossing. The site we loved on both trips was Emerald Lake. The town of Sitka is not always on an Alaska cruise itinerary. It had long been inhabited by the native Tlingit tribe and then became the town of New Archangel, the capital of Russian America. When Alaska was purchased by the U.S., the transfer ceremony was held here. During our visit, we walked the waterfront and saw salmon trying to get to the spawning grounds through waterways that were now diverted. We saw quite a few eagles and a lot of seagulls because of the salmon. A major attraction here is the Sitka National Historic Park, where we saw displays of native art and attire, as well as a number of totem poles in the visitor center. We also walked the trails in the park outside that had a number of totem poles. It was a great attraction. Another place that is not on every cruise itinerary is a visit to Glacier Bay National Park. Here, the boat is transferring a park ranger to our ship. A ranger normally gives each ship a running dialogue of what is seen in the park. I believe only 2 large cruise ships are allowed in the bay each day. We would highly recommend finding a cruise that includes Glacier Bay on its itinerary. You will soon see why. If you are returning to our channel, thank you for your continued support. If you're new to our channel, we're glad you found us. We are a retired couple who love to travel and hope our videos will inspire others to travel the world. Any questions or comments are welcome. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up as it helps promote the video, and consider subscribing to our channel. Then we start to see the major sights in the bay. At the far end of Glacier Bay is the Grand Pacific Glacier and the Margerie Glacier. This sturdy shoreline is actually the rock-filled Grand Pacific Glacier that carved Glacier Bay. Right next to it is the cleaner Margerie Glacier. Since this is one of the major attractions, the ship normally holds its position here, while the captain rotates the ship a number of times so all sides can get a good look. There were also a lot of otters playing in the water. The glaciers seem to be constantly changing with the lighting conditions. Continuing on, we see the other cruise ship in the bay today. It looks like a Holland America ship. Besides glaciers, there are all kinds of beautiful sights in the bay. But glaciers, like the Johns Hopkins here, are the stars. The last major glacier we see is the Lamplugh, which is known for its blue color. We were also lucky to see a number of whales in the bay, including this one that was pretty close to us. If the weather is nice, Glacier Bay is always spectacular to visit. There are other glaciers that can be seen on an Alaska itinerary, but it is also dependent on the weather. This is the best view we got for our visit to Hubbard Glacier. Icy Strait Point is also not always a regular port call. From one docking location, passengers need to take a gondola to the main visitor area. This is an old fishing village and a cannery that is still being built into a bigger tourist attraction. On our visit, we walked the waterfront to the old cannery building. The old cannery building had great displays explaining the process of canning salmon. Although we didn't attend, it looked like they had a tribal dance show. However, the long zip line from the hill above seemed to be popular. The town of Ketchikan is a regular stop on Alaska cruises. The downtown area is pretty compact and many of the attractions are nearby. A longtime fishing village, Ketchikan is also known for a lot of rain. A major attraction in town is the old red light district of Creek Street. It's now a quaint boardwalk along the creek. Our last visit there was during a salmon run, and the seals were in the creek gorging on dying fish. As we walked around the town, we saw other sections of the river full of salmon. We spent time a little further up Creek Street watching the salmon jump. We also climbed some stairs for a better view of the town. And I always love watching the float planes take off. Because of the Passenger Vessel Services Act, almost all Alaska cruises that are round trip from Seattle have an evening stop in Victoria, BC. Due to the late and short stop, we normally just walk around the downtown area for a few hours. The inner harbor is always a highlight for us. We hope you enjoyed the highlights of our Alaska cruises. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for our future travel videos.